say no.
Okay. Welcome back to From the Fabricator, the podcast. This is episode number 3. I had to look at my fingers and figure that out. We are 3 into this. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for supporting. I truly appreciate it. It is great to be back with you, and I think we've got a fantastic show. This episode features 3 really neat people, interesting people. Kendal Rowe from Rowe Fenestration. She's a relative newcomer to this industry, but she's absolutely dynamite. Josh Burg from Glass Enterprises, fantastic human, and a longtime friend of mine, Brian Thomas from Super Sky. Great company, super person, and excited to share all of these with you coming up on this show. So thank you so much for tuning in. But before we get to that, let's talk about the big story. And the big story, believe it or not, is a glass shortage. This is something that has come up over the years. It comes up constantly. In my years in this industry, I've probably addressed this 15 times. Most of the time, it's not true. Most of the time, there's not a glass shortage. Right now, we are headed that way. We are definitely on the path to a glass shortage. Supply is tightening. Why? There's a bunch of different reasons. Obviously, COVID and the issues that surround that is a big issue, is a big play, no doubt. It affects transportation both internationally and domestically, and that's playing into this. Transportation obviously has been an issue and continues to be one. Getting the trucking at every level of the supply chain is a challenge. Raw materials for the first time in a while now is an issue. Sand, other issues that go, other items that go into the mix are becoming in more demand and shorter supply. One of those reasons is those vials that millions and millions of vaccines are being made into are using a lot of the same resources that we use on the flat glass side. And it is a part of this. We are seeing a tightening of supply. You have to be prepared and aware of that. In the past, it was definitely, on many occasions, the little boy who cried wolf sort of thing. Not now. But it's no reason right now to say, okay, I give up. I can't get glass. I mean, obviously, we all have to get glass. We have to cut it, install it, and deal with it, and so on. So what do? Well, communication right now, as I always harp on, is key. You have to communicate up and down the supply chain, and you have to communicate with your customers. This summer, it's probably going to take longer for you to get that shower enclosure. It probably is. And so it's something you need to keep in mind. And so when you used to supply or be able to install in X amount of time, say a week, it might now take 10 days or 2 weeks. So you have to be prepared for that. And then you have to be communicating with your fabricator and making sure that you're understanding the lead times. And the fabricators, you have to be explaining everything up front to your customers. I was a fabricator. I still believe at heart I am a fabricator. There's nothing worse than giving that bad news to a customer who expected something in 2 days or 3 days, or my brother who was always like, hey, we got to get it to him in 24 hours or less sort of thing. He was maniacal on service. Well, it was hard to explain to them when lead times had to stretch out for one reason or another, but you have to do it. Be upfront about it and explain it. But we are headed into a tightening of glass. We are headed into a glass shortage. So it is something to be prepared about and be prepared for. And communicate all around, and look at that supply chain. It's very important. I'll keep you up to date on this as I go, but you definitely want to start these conversations now as things are starting to tighten, but they're not totally there. So you are prepared and you are ahead of the game. So the people that listen to this podcast or watch this podcast on YouTube, you all are ahead of the game. And those who are not listening to this may be sleeping. So you will have your edge on your competitor. So you're welcome. I'm helping you out there. So that's the big one. That's the big news leading into this podcast that you have to keep in mind. A couple other items I want to hit. Coming up very soon is BEC Presents. That is from the National Glass Association, and a very exciting, different way to present an online event. Obviously, the in-person BEC, which was supposed to be in Las Vegas, was canceled depressingly so, but it is what it is at this point. But the NGA has put together a program that I am involved in called BEC Presents, and they will be episodes. A handful of episodes, all dropping on the same day of March 22nd, all available on demand for I think 2 weeks. You can watch them at any time. You click, no registration, no hoops to jump through, and big subjects: State of the Union, legal, real estate issues, technical. So the things that you really want in good bite-sized episodes. I know I've looked at the legal one, and it's impressive and it's interesting, and it's in bite-sized sort of pieces that you can take and run with and get some good advice and good direction on. So that is BEC Presents. That is dropping March 22nd. You can find that on glass.org or follow the NGA on LinkedIn, and I'm sure things will be popping over there. Andrew Herring does a tremendous job of making sure, if you don't know from the NGA LinkedIn page, you follow Andrew Herring, and he lets you know. I do too, but Andrew's still the man. So the other thing, speaking of Andrew, speaking of NGA, is Glass Build America is scheduled. There this past week was an announcement over Glass Tech in Germany and Dusseldorf canceling their 2021 show that was postponed from 2020. And so immediately people said, whoa, is Glass Build still on? Well, Glass Build is. It is planned for September in Atlanta. We are moving full speed ahead. That is a big baby of mine, a big play for me is Glass Build. And I can tell you, plans are being worked on and things are moving. We are working hard on getting prepared. Hotels will be opening soon for you to sign up and book. The floor is filling up nicely. People are taking different spaces, bigger spaces, and they have that thirst to get in front of people. Now we know, I think anybody who's following along right now knows that not everyone will be comfortable being amongst people and traveling. That will be an issue. However, there are a lot of people who are ready, and there are a lot of people who have been traveling since day one. But there are people that are ready, and they're ready to travel now, and they can't wait to get to Glass Build. Count me as one of them. That is coming up in September, Atlanta. It is going to be a good one. So it has not been canceled, and we are moving full speed ahead. So that's the top of the show for you. We're going to move now into the guest segments. As I said at the beginning, three really, really interesting people, well put together people, influencers, leaders, and exciting for me because I barely knew Kendal Rowe before I interviewed her. I barely even know Josh Burg before I interviewed him. I communicated with him by email, and that's only been in the last year. So it's been fascinating to have this opportunity to get to know him better. And then on the flip side, I've known Brian Thomas for many, many years, and he's an incredible guy at an incredible company that is going to be fun to share some of the stuff that they've got going on. So let's get it going. Let's toss it to the interviews. We're going to lead off with Kendal Rowe, who I've mentioned. She is relatively new to the industry, fantastic gal from a great organization in Rowe Fenestration. So here we go. Hey, so this is an exciting part of the podcast for me. I am getting to interview somebody that I've only met once. I know her family, and I know a little bit about her, and I'm a big fan of her family. But this is exciting for me to get to know Kendal Rowe, who I'm going to interview in a second, and get that feel from a quote unquote newbie to the industry that's also in a family business, that also has all those connections. It's a totally different perspective, and I'm excited to do that. So welcoming now from Rowe Fenestration, Kendal Rowe. Kendal, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm thrilled to get to talk with you because you have a family business. Rowe Fen is awesome. I've written on my blog about how much I like Rowe and Lindsay Parker. Your sister is fantastic. Scott Rowe, the most dynamic man in the business, sort of thing. Nobody dresses better. Nobody could pull it off what he wears. So
it's absolutely true.
You're a part of that world. But you're new to this industry. You didn't take a path where, you came out of college and maybe worked at a different glass company. You went, LA, Hollywood, and that was very interesting to me. So tell me a little bit about your past, how, where you went after high school, and the career you had before the glass business.
Well, I was really involved with media and theater and whatnot in high school, which kind of led me straight into the film school thing. I graduated high school early, and the film school that I really wanted to go to had a year-round program. So it was like all the more expediting to get me out into college at 17.
Wow.
So I did that, and went into it not knowing anyone, not really having any connections to it, and kind of built up my career in the entertainment industry, starting with internships and then moved to TV, moved to commercials. I, did it for about 15 years, ended up being production supervisor for, bigger commercials. And it was exciting. It was fun.
Sure, sure. So you were in the heat of Hollywood, basically. You were, running with the bigwigs for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was had some success, and I worked a lot, and it was a freelance world. So,
Right.
everything is, you're only as good as your last job and the last people that, know you. So your work ethic and your reputation is everything, really.
And,
So
and it is a tough world because it's not a weekly paycheck world. Like you said, it's a freelance world. And it's a hard life. It's a hard life.
yeah.
And so then you made the call to join the family business, and Rowe, which is wildly successful, manufacturers reps, unbelievable reputation, great lines. What was it like, talking to your family, when they said, hey, the conversation of you joining the business, what was it like you coming over to the dark side of the glass and glazing industry?
Well, I'll be honest, it's something I never thought I would do. Like, if you would have asked me when I was 20 years old, I would have been like, no, I'm not working for my dad. Are you kidding? Um, but I grew up with hanging out with glass geeks in the backyard, the barbecue, and it's just kind of always been there, and I've been very comfortable with it. And a few handful of years ago, I was looking to change my life. I mean, the entertainment industry is wonderful. It's exciting. You get to travel, you get to meet all kinds of amazing people, but it's hard. I mean, it's 100-hour work weeks. It's getting a call on Tuesday to leave on Thursday for months at a time. So it's really fun in your 20s, not so fun in your 30s.
Right.
And I missed a lot of like family life and things. So me looking for a life change right when Scott was looking to expand Rowe Fenestration to the Southern California region, it just kind of came together at the perfect time. And it was like, oh, wow, this could be really interesting, and this could be really amazing. And the more, the courtship process definitely lasted for more than a year before I before I signed on. But I think both parties are super excited about it, and now I love it, obviously.
Incredible. And I'm going to ask you about that, but it's so funny that you went through a year courtship process. Mine was, I had no desire to be in the glass business either, even though my family had been in it since 1898. My dad, my brother, my cousins, everybody was heavily into it. I didn't want to be in it. They went after you for a year. Mine was, I was making $6 an hour at the NBC affiliate in Pittsburgh, and my brother's like, hey, I'll give you $6.50 to come work with us. Okay, I'll give it a shot. 50 cents. That's how easy it was for me. Versus you here, I should have had your agent negotiate my deal. I see that's the difference of being in LA and being in Pittsburgh growing up. So, but
yes, well, I had 15 years of experience negotiating.
Exactly. You knew what to do. I give you credit there. So next contract thing, I'm calling you. So you make the jump. You join the business. You've been in it now. What is it been 2 years? I mean, last year
it's been 2 years, just barely, but yeah.
Okay, because I met you at Glass Build in 2019. I think that's when I met you. It was in Atlanta. I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's been 2 years. What are your thoughts so far? Like you said, you grew up around it, but now you're in it. You're in the belly of the beast. What are your thoughts of the glass and glazing industry?
I mean, I think so many of the things that I loved about my last career, I could kind of transition it into this one. It's relationships, it's people, it's getting things done, it's staying organized, it's communication, it's all the same kind of idea. It's just talking about something different. And I like that part. I really like working with people, and I really like making them happy, and I like to solve problems. And those are a lot of the things that I do on a daily basis.
Yeah. And you have an infectious energy about you too. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
I think it's all of you, but my one meeting of you that stuck with me, and that's why when I started the podcast, I reached out to your sister and I said I really want to have Kendal on the podcast because your energy stuck with me those 2 years. I loved, you were like, I'm ready to go. So I love that now 2 years later you're still excited about it. This is neat for me to hear as a grizzled old miserable vet of the. I like this
Yes.
enthusiasm you have.
Well, thank you very much. I try.
Awesome. Awesome. So you're in the business but you're working with family members. And obviously I did that for many years. And a lot of people in this industry work with their family members. What's it been like for you, the family dynamic? Anything changed, anything different, or you guys are just still rolling along?
Well, working with family was brand new to me. And in the entertainment industry, there isn't a lot of that unless it's, just kind of the negative, like must hire aspect of it. So coming into this business, I was so afraid that I would be honestly judged because I'm the daughter of someone who's well known. Um, but truly it's just such an awesome dynamic because there is the just easy camaraderie factor. We like hanging out and we have to do that a lot, obviously, going around and entertaining and seeing people and building those relationships. So overall, I mean, I absolutely love it. And Scott is such an easy guy to work for because he's so, well, charismatic, obviously, but he's so hands off in the idea of like giving you the tools to go do what you need to do and then trusting you to do it. So I'm not micromanaged and I really work better under that kind of environment. And yeah, it's good. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And Scott I'd explain him as an American original. There's nothing else like him in this industry, and there'll never be anything else like him in this industry. And I like the fact that he's hands off. But the way you guys at Rowe have created your business and go to market strategy is different than the typical rep agency. You guys are really, you're about those relationships, you're about those lines that you carry, and you're like married to them. You're not out there just here, buy this, buy this, buy this.
Yeah.
I like what you guys have created, and I think you've eased into it pretty nicely because that worked to your strengths.
And it's also a really wonderful opportunity to come into a company that I believe in so much. I mean, Scott has built this company around his integrity and the idea that he's had vendor partners for decades and he's built these relationships with customers for decades. And that's something that, I'm proud of. And I would love to continue that, you know, legacy, I guess.
Keep it going, keep it going. So it's rofen.com, I believe, is the website.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's a great website, great company, and the family business. And so one of the lines that you guys carry is a line that I'm a fan of, is Glass Pro.
Yes.
And they're playing in two areas that are right now incredibly hot: bird friendly and also office interiors. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the excitement of some things they've got going on right now.
It is exciting. It's really exciting. I do the architectural and design work specifically for Glass Pro in Los Angeles. And we have a new line of remarkable glass boards that we're releasing like last month. And it's exciting. It's beautiful stuff. It's high end. It's nice. And then we also revamped our whole bird glass line as well. And we've partnered with Walker for the acid etched materials. And it's beautiful stuff. It's next level. So it's exciting to also partner with these companies that create such beautiful products.
Yeah, and I think that being a creative person like you are, and now you're into creative products,
Mhm.
and I think that again, when we talk about your strengths, we're matching your strengths. And I wish we could do this for more people that don't understand the glass industry and maybe look at us as gritty construction, lower level sort of Neanderthals. We're not. I mean, you
No.
see like what you're creating there to protect the birds, and you see what you're creating there to make offices more efficient, and using your creative skills. One of these days, we're going to have a campaign in this industry that people will understand the glass business better. And I think you'd be a great face for it because you get it. You've been here 2 years and you're all over it. I love it.
It's definitely fun. The design part is one of my favorite parts of my job too, because it is taking those skills of listening to the creative and the artistic designers, and then morphing it into something that's tangible as far as a product. And how does it come together and look like the way you want it to look? So
Sure.
that part is fun for me.
Yeah, good. What's been the best? What has been the best part overall, though, for you in these 2 years as a newbie? What's been best for you?
Uh, I definitely like the creative design of that whole part of it. That's a really fun part. I This is so cheesy, but learning this side of my dad and his
Nice.
business
Yeah.
and how he is to the rest of the world and how people perceive him. I mean, I walk into an office and it's like, "Oh, you're a Rowe." And it's like that's usually really good, but it just depends. And it's really fun to be able to learn this whole other side and our dynamic, and he is an amazing mentor and I'm thankful for that. So it's so cheesy, but
No, it's not. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. I was very fortunate that I learned a bit from my dad, but mostly from my brother and my sister too. So I was very fortunate that I had a cousin in the business, a lot of cousins in the business that really helped me along the way. But having that dynamic there, I'm excited that you said that. Not cheesy at all. Not cheesy.
yeah.
So
And
before I let you go, what excites you for 2021? Maybe I guess getting unlocked down out there in California would
yes,
probably be
get
the first thing.
outside.
Yes.
Oh, I cannot wait to get out and actually see people. I mean, we're doing it in the safest way possible at this point, but
Yeah.
let's be real, we're all zoomed out. We've been doing
Yes.
this all year. Lots of presentations and like trying to show samples and things. But I miss being out in the world and actually interacting with humans.
And it's probably because again, I've said it a couple times. Your energy is just so infectious. It probably does drive you crazy to sit in front of a computer screen. I mean,
It's
you
hard.
I'm somewhat of an introvert. I do sometimes. I show up at the shows, but people who know me know that I don't go out. Unless it's a very rare thing. I do my time. I go back to the hotel room, that sort of thing. But I'm mostly an introvert. I think you need to be around people and out and about and being able to show that enthusiasm. So I'm sure you can't wait for these lockdowns to get lifted.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I love it.
That
I
is
love it.
definitely it. I'm also really excited to see Rowe grow in Southern California because we're starting to get traction. We're starting to get more, and I have so much hope, and I think that it's going to be just great opportunity everywhere.
Absolutely.
So
Well, I think you're going to be great. You guys are heading in the right direction, and it's rowfen.com. That's where you can find, Kendal, and you can find the rest of the great team of a wonderful manufacturer's rep agency, pretty much unlike any other agency in our industry. And I hope to see you at Glass Build in September. It'll be, every guest that I talk to, I'm saying the same thing. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We got to get there. We got to get there. And so I hope I see you in Atlanta in a few months.
yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time today and keep up the good work. I look forward to catching up with you and, keep bringing that energy every day. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. It's time for another interview. And I'm very, very excited to have Josh Burg from Glass Enterprises with me. As I mentioned off the top, I've only met Josh via email. I haven't gotten to meet him in person yet, so this is going to have to do. I'm excited about it, and we only met maybe it's been less than a year since we communicated the first time. So this is great to get to meet you. So welcome to the podcast. Thanks for doing it, Josh. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit.
Oh, Max, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out and us connecting. COVID, as it kind of brought everybody away from each other, it certainly expanded networks virtually, and I think that's how our paths were able to cross, and I'm excited as well. So thank you.
Awesome. It's great to have you, and you are the CEO at Glass Enterprises, and you can find them on the web at glassenterprises.com. A great fabricator in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. Before we get into what you do with the company, I want to learn a little bit more about you. You are a family business guy, same as me, and once upon a time, I think our families even connected there. But talk a little bit about you and your background and your family in the business.
So yeah, I mean, Max, it really all started at Pearlstein Glass. My father started there back in the 70s probably, and went through the glass industry, worked for AGC for a bit, and then founded Glass Enterprises in 1984. I didn't have much intention of getting into the business, and then went to law school, practiced as a lawyer for a little bit, Um, Started to work for my dad in January of 2008. He
Okay.
passed away suddenly in May, and then I was kind of left with a decision: practice law or take over the glass industry. And frankly, I haven't looked back since. It's been the greatest decision that I've made professionally and personally. The business that we're in, the people we meet, the tangible products that we get to manufacture are certainly a different type of industry than the legal field. But I really enjoy it. We get to be masters of our own destiny, and we get to work with great people out in the field in a manufacturing facility. And so I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun.
It's funny. I did not. I mean, I knew you did not go to school for, the typical communications or business or so on. I did not know you were a lawyer. And I actually find it funny because I had no desire to get in the glass industry either. And so I find it funny that there is other people like me who are in that family business and had to grow up with it and didn't want to be in it, then got into it and fell in love with it. So that's pretty cool that you're in that same boat.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So you went to Emory University
Yes.
and so what sort of law did you practice while you were, in that sort of world?
So I did a lot of class actions and personal injury cases.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So there were a lot of catastrophic injuries that we dealt with as well. And I did that for about 4 years.
Okay.
So, I didn't have a long career there, but I will certainly say that law school and the thinking that it taught me to engage allowed me to kind of parlay that into a lot of what we do in our sector as well. So it was certainly beneficial. I can't say that I don't utilize the skills that I learned there. So, it's just a different path to get here.
Yeah, absolutely. We all had to find that path to get into this awesome industry. So I'm glad you found it. Now your company is so impressive. I told you that the first time I checked out your website when we first communicated. Really, like what you have going on, and you've created an incredible culture there, and that's something I've asked I think every guest I've had on this podcast because I really get into the way people build their cultures. What have you guys done that is fostered this community that seems so positive at Glass Enterprises?
Well, I want to say it really started with my dad. My dad, when he started this company, he was out on the floor every day. I grew up with a lot of guys that are still on our floor from when I was 6 years old. I remember joking with the guys. They would make dinosaurs out of sealant. They would just put it on a ceiling table and they would make some designs. And those are the same guys I work with today. And now they have grandkids and I'm watching their kids grow up or some of their children have come into the business. So it is a true family business and we really value that. On the floor, of course, when you go out and you're looking at what you're producing and you're paying attention to your quality, but you're also stopping to talk to the guys and ask, how was your daughter's first birthday? Or, we try to really engage on the family side with everybody. Before COVID, we used to do a lot of great activities here. Whether it was going to a Phillies game, we did some paintball activities. We try to kind of think out of the box, and then COVID made that stop. But there's more to it than just coming here for a job. We try to make it be able to grow professionally and personally, and we get to know our employees, and our employees are vested in what we do, and that's even true with our customers who come through here. Our employees know our customers. Our customers have the guys on the floor, our project managers, our customer service representatives. They have their cell phones. They're able to reach out and we're very responsive and we try to bring that across the board. And I think that's really a big part of the culture. We have our 10 core values that are plastered all over the place here.
Nice.
And we try to teach to that and train to that. When somebody comes in, that's who we are and that's who we try to be. And the number one core value is do the right thing. And I think that leads the culture as well. You do the right thing for your customers and for the people you work with. I struggle with the word employees because I think we all work together.
Yep.
and we have a common goal. And that's what I try to foster here. And really, I think we have a great family here. We really do.
I like it. I like it. And the one thing I also have to point out is, this week that I'm recording this with you, it's Women in Construction Week. And I've been just so impressed with on LinkedIn, your company's been focusing on a different member of the Glass Enterprises family every day. A great effort by a lot of women on your floor and in your office and in your sales staff. Kudos to you and all of them. I mean, it really is showing off again that another side of that great culture you've built there.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, specifically the women in construction. I'm really fortunate to work with everybody here, and then the women here who I think in our industry don't always have the easiest road, because it's been such a industry dominated by men, and the absolute pleasure I have to work with them and gain their insight and perspective is truly amazing. One thing I will say, when it comes to a manufacturing floor, sometimes there's not the same interest, and the individuals and the women I work with on our manufacturing floor bring such an energy and such a positive vibe to the floor, and it's wonderful. So yeah, I mean, specifically for Women in Construction Week, I know it's probably been a hard industry for women, and it's a welcome kind of celebration of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did it justice. So kudos to you and your team that has put that up there. I was very, very impressed. Very impressed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk about you sent me a couple projects. I like to always talk about the projects, and this happened on my first podcast with Tom O'Malley from Clover Architectural. Everybody was like, "Oh wow, I love seeing what other people were doing out in the world." So you sent me a couple projects that I'll put for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see the pictures on the screen. You want to talk me through these two and tell me what they were and what went into it at Glass Enterprises?
Sure. We can start with the larger in scope project was the Lima Hotel in Washington, D.C. It's a really impressive project. The glass had a couple different types. There was some fritted glass on there over Solar Band 60, some tempered, some heat strengthened, some annealed. That project went over multiple releases for probably 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
But our project management team is really exceptional at that type of project. We began working on projects 6 months before we fabricated the first piece of glass. And when we were ready to fabricate, we had all the particulars ready to go. The project management sheet on our floor filed it. The customer was able to review that multiple times. We shipped on our own trucks, but the site was tight. You're in the middle of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Now, our company grew up in Philadelphia.
Right.
So just as tight. You have a city that isn't always necessarily built for large construction equipment and boom trucks and rack deliveries and crate deliveries. You have active sidewalks, you have active streets. So that had to be coordinated very, very particularly. And working with the customer and us, I think our project management team did a phenomenal job. And there were a couple components that weren't necessarily easiest to bring to light. You have your silk screen component, you have your footing component, you have your spandrel. And that building had to go up floor by floor by floor. So coordinating that, we did a great job. And so it's a beautiful looking hotel.
It is.
Both from the storefront, which I think contains some low iron products, and then you have the rest of the building.
Sure.
So that was really one that we wanted to showcase.
Fantastic. And how about the other one? Again, and before you talk about the other one, kudos on the project management is underrated. And so the fact that you took 6 months to prepare for a job that was going to take 6 months, pays off in the end. Pays off.
So before I go to the other one, Max, is when project management is something that we have really focused on in the past few years. We find that added value through our project management team, whether it's a 500 square foot project or a 50,000 square foot project or more. The project management side, the setting the expectations, the back and forth between us and the glazer and the general contractor and the architect from the submittal period to the site particulars, to the glass particulars, to having the customer come to our factory to make sure that we're going to manufacture what they want.
Yeah.
Is as you said, an underrated, and I think it's a lost art.
Yeah.
The better you can prepare for anything, the better it goes. And that's what's really been able to allow us to perform on such a varied scope of projects.
Good work. Good work. Yeah, that makes sense. It pays off. So I like what you're doing there. How about the other project? Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, the other project, that's just a cool photo. I love the picture of it. It's Solar Band 60 over clear, but the flatness tolerance on that job was very particular, which I want to talk about. Our furnaces, our furnace operators, our light sentry equipment, our project management, where we're detailing that flatness tolerance, allowed for a nighttime photo with all that light in there with very little distortion. So I just thought that photo was really cool. It was a fun project. We did it with a glazer we've done numerous projects on, and we had to work this one on project management because of the tolerances. It was for a university. It was a high profile job that they really wanted to go out flawlessly. It was going to be their centerpiece of their campus. So, and when the glazer sent me that photo, I was like, this is cool. I mean, this is why we get up in the morning so that we can drive down the road and say to our kids, hey, look what Dad did.
Yep.
I know we don't do that in the glass industry.
Yeah, only in our world that we can do that. So that's right. Congrats on that one. That absolutely fantastic. So obviously you mentioned a little earlier about the way COVID had changed things. And so we're now into 2021. There's a little bit of hope that we're maybe finally getting to the other side of this thing. How is 2021 looking so far? We're 2.5 months into this. What are you guys looking like for the rest of this year?
So I'm excited for 2021. The feedback that I've been getting on the commercial side has been from basically word of mouth. I think in the climate that we're in, projections become less reliable. There's so many variables we're fighting with.
Yeah.
So I talk to my customers. We'll talk to some general contractors and really utilize our network of friends and colleagues. And everybody thinks that there's going to be a pent-up demand. Yeah. Now, economic forecasting is like weather forecasting to an extent. If you're right, everybody's happy, and if you're wrong, everybody yells at you.
Right.
So I do think that 2021 holds a lot of opportunity, but I think it's going to take a lot of very skillful and crafted decision making on how to navigate it, because I think you're going to have a lot of challenges. What we're doing here is we've decided this year that we're going to continue to offer architectural metal, but on a different level.
Okay.
In distribution sides and some fabrication. We're also going to do an all glass door department.
Wonderful.
Where we haven't really pursued that as much as we had in the past. So I think finding your customers' needs is going to be the most important part, and where you can better become a partner, because the pie may shrink.
Yeah.
You just have to find another pie to eat.
Yeah, I love it, because I've talked about, diversifying your business, finding those avenues and those openings to take advantage of. And like you saying, all right, we're going to get into all glass entrances. That's exactly, a great extension of what you're already doing. And that's something that I've preached, and it's nice to see people doing that, and nice to see you out hiring people and, making the moves to make that happen.
Thank you. Yeah. And 2020, for what it was worth, it was a little slower. So it allows you to kind of take a step back. And if you utilize those opportunities to improve what you're doing, which is where we did in 2020, we have the ability and the resources to now offer more to our customers.
Gotcha.
Which, again, going back to what you said, I think that's the key. Find out what your customers need. Yep. They'll tell you what they need. You can't tell them what they have to have.
Right. And that's communication. You're doing it right. I'm impressed. Before I let you go, though, I have to ask you, I assume you're a sports fan? Are you a Philly sports fan? Now, we're headed into baseball season. Is it the Phillies? Are we going to make a run here with the Phillies to the World Series? I mean, they've got some horses on this team. What do you think?
I think the Phillies are going to be very similar to 2021. It depends if the strategic moves are made and the right players are put in place. I'm putting my money on the Sixers, though.
Okay.
If I had to ride any team to go further or deeper into a playoff run, it'd be the Sixers right now.
Gotcha. I'm a big Tobias Harris guy. He played here in Detroit, and great pickup by the Sixers, and Embiid and Simmons with Doc as a great coach. So yeah, I think that was a good call by you. That's why you're wearing the nice looking sport jacket, and I'm wearing the t-shirt. We know who the smart one on this podcast is, and it's definitely not me. It's you.
Max, I told you I had to dress up. This isn't just an ordinary podcast. This is the glass world.
Yeah, it is. And you, my man, are very, very impressive. And I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy, but thank you for talking about your great company. You can find them at www.glassenterprises.com. Check out that website because it's fantastic. Your marketing crew did a wonderful job. Check out those core values that Josh and his team have put up there. And just follow them also on LinkedIn. Glass Enterprises has a nice LinkedIn page that has done a super job, especially this week during Women in Construction Week. But thank you so much for taking the time. And I can't wait to meet you in person, shake your hand, and who knows, maybe talk about that Sixers championship over the Lakers. If anybody beats the Lakers, I'm all good with it, especially if it's the Sixers. I'll be right with you rooting for them.
Max, thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation, the hospitality, and yeah, I can't wait till we can just hang out.
You bet. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back with our final segment of this podcast, and I am thrilled to be joined by Brian Thomas, the president and CEO of Super Sky Enterprises. Super Sky is one of those brands that we all know from just years of tremendous projects in our industry, and I'm excited to talk to Brian about a couple of those projects, but also about Super Sky and Brian himself. So, Brian, thanks for joining us. Thanks for hopping on the pod.
Thanks, Max. Really appreciate it, and I look forward to our talk.
Absolutely. So it's funny, this podcast features a few people that I've either just met or I met a year ago. You, I've known a long time. We go way back because you're a Michigan guy. I'm a Michigan guy. Our companies worked together at one point, back in the day, family businesses. But you've had a great past, a successful past in this industry. Talk a little bit about where you came from and, getting to the point of president and CEO of at Super Sky now.
Thanks, Max. Yeah, you and I have talked to each other. We've known each other for a long time. I remember going to a few Christmas dinners back when, arcade erectors and exterior wall specialties. We did a lot of work with most of the business was coming out of Plymouth when we were in Livonia and Northville. So I started in Detroit, worked for family business. My father originally started as a manufacturer's rep, moved into the erecting business with another gentleman that grew into Super Sky into exterior wall. That's where I started. Most of my time was spent at the beginning, very low, truck driving, cleaning up the shop.
You did everything. I do remember that. You did everything because I remember you'd be on the phone with me ordering something, but then you'd be out there, out in the field doing this, doing that. I mean, you did everything there.
And I liked it. I did enjoy it being in the field because there's something different all the time, whether it was, we worked with iron workers and glazers, sheet metal workers, and we were doing something different all the time. Started out just doing erection of curtain wall for some of the bigger glass companies in the area, and then kind of slowly grew into, we started fabricating our own material, whether it was curtain wall, storefront doors, installing hardware, into louvers, glass handrails, and then metal panels, and eventually actually buying skylights from Super Sky.
Interesting.
So I've known about Super Sky and worked with Super Sky for a number of years before even coming here. And then after I left exterior wall, went to Modern Mirror, worked there, bought Super Sky products again. Mm-hmm. Then Madison Heights glass up until 2014, doing the same types of things at those two companies,
right?
Where we did everything, curtain wall, a little bit more of the unitized they started doing, but we were still doing storefronts and doors, hardware, buying skylights. So I've done everything from the basic beginning position all the way up to trying to look for new business. Not a lot of estimating. When I worked for exterior wall, my brother Tim, he handled all the estimating. But kind of crept in and kind of partnered on a few things, learning that part of the thing. and then did a little bit of estimating at Modern and Madison Heights. So yeah, 2014, got a random call out of the blue. I think it was January of 14, that there's a Midwest company, Skylight business, that looking to replace a president who had been here for 45 years.
Right.
So, you know, I started thinking, okay, who do I know in the Midwest? Who could it be? I said, they wouldn't tell me who it was at first.
Right.
So I went through a couple of initial interviews and things like that. And then I said, is it Super Sky? And they said, yes. And from there on, it was a pretty easy decision for me.
Sure.
Knew the reputation, knew what they could do, what they were capable of. And it was a Midwest company. So how much harder could it be going from Detroit to Milwaukee?
Right. Right.
Midwest people, same climate, wife willing to, you know, go over an adventure, and then 3 daughters who, yeah, sounds like a great challenge. Let's do it.
Nice. Nice.
So, yeah, 7 years later.
Yeah. As they say, the rest is history, right? The 7 years later.
Yeah, 7 years later, still going strong and just absolutely loving it.
Awesome. Awesome. And I think that's the beauty of your past. I can't understate it, is that you were never afraid to get your hands dirty and do it, and get everything done. And that, I think that's what rounded you out to be such a successful president and CEO right now, is that you were involved in so many different things. You know how everybody has to work and what they're going through, because you've done it. You know, you've taken all those different paths, and I think that's why you've had some wonderful success in this current position. And now, you know, you come to Super Sky, and it has this long-standing reputation. You're stepping in for a person who had been there 40 plus years. But you know, the strengths are there, but you know, you just can't let it be on autopilot. I mean, you have to do things, and you've done a tremendous job of taking, you know, Super Sky legacy into Super Sky present, and these projects you guys are putting out are mind-blowing. Talk about the pressure, though, of coming into a company with a great legacy, and then you having to take that and take it to the next level like you have.
And that's one of the best things about Super Sky is the people. The average tenure here is about 21 years.
Wow.
So people here know what they're doing. It's not, there's very few people who can say that about a company. And it starts with, you know, sales and estimating, and accounting, who actually, you know, bids and specs, risk management, everything starts there, trickles down into engineering, where the project managers take the drawings, and they don't just look at the drawings, they look at all the surrounding conditions.
Right.
What does maybe the general contractor, the owner, what don't they see that we could help them, you know, provide them something that's going to be, make for a perfect installation. Followed up by, you know, when it goes into the fabrication facility, then field operations to make sure it gets done and installed right. Everything works and functions perfectly. There was just a few little tweaks that we started to make that, you know, let's stop saying we're doing this because we've always done it that way.
Right.
Well, let's look at, here's something that's happening in this industry. Can we do it better? Can we make simple changes? And we did, and it's worked great. We've continued to make incredible investments with the fabrication facility, with some new 5-axis CNC machines. You know, we can, if an architect can draw it, we can build it. And that's something that even amazes me, because I've seen some of the project managers draw a few details, and it's like, where are we getting that from? And it goes through engineering, and then it goes to the machines, and all of a sudden you see it come out. And it's a phenomenal piece of art that actually, like, that's what you'd expect to come out of the computer, and here we're doing it. So it's really, really neat to see.
And to take it to the next step, it's going above you too. I mean, that's the that's the thing that's so amazing. It's one thing to do a curtain wall, which there's so many wonderful players in this industry that do that, but then to go with the overhead glazing and do the structures that you do is it's really, really impressive. And we have a couple projects that I asked you to show, because it is so impressive. And one of them was Embry-Riddle. I believe that's in Florida? Is it Daytona?
Daytona Beach.
Talk a little bit about what went into this. And those of you who are going to watch this on YouTube will see some pictures and video of this one on the screen. But Brian, talk about what went into a project that's this intense.
It's a pretty amazing project. Emery Riddle obviously was the customer, and we did it. The architect was Icon 5. Barton Mallett was the general contractor.
Right.
All great team players. Barton Mallett had a couple issues with the steel installation, and we helped coordinate exactly what we needed. The curvature of the building itself, from front to back, was about 316 feet long, 41 feet across, with 2 single slope pitches coming into each other. So when you're thinking about a football that actually goes up to a peak, we're doing the opposite. We're putting the indent down that center of that 316 feet. As the curvature goes and the geometry started going together, we had to figure out, okay, these pieces of glass there's not going to be one piece of glass. It's going to be 4 feet by 23 feet that can sit flat.
Right.
So we took each one of those quadrants and we divided it by 4. And so each one of those quadrants has a triangle piece of glass to make up for the warpage as the glass goes through. And the glass is, produced by Viricon, one of our, big suppliers. The material is all fabricated here, painted by Line Tech, and installation went on without a hitch. Really, really well executed project. There's a neat video that I don't know if Barton Mallett put it on or if Emery Riddle did it, with the president of Emery Riddle talking about the space that's underneath that skylight and the building itself. It's just phenomenal. And the daylighting that comes in there. And obviously the glass product actually helps with the heat coefficients and everything. But just a wonderful project. It's one of those projects, probably not this year, but probably next year, you'll see in one of our catalogs.
Absolutely. And it's one of those projects that show off how great our industry is. That's the thing that, I'm a big fan of, is showing you what we can do as an industry. Look at how creative this is. Look how intense this is, and we can do it. And a lot of times people don't realize that. And then speaking of things we can do, is the other project, your Union Station project in Chicago. That the pressure on that one, I know you're going to talk about it, had to be intense. I had seen some things, that Super Sky had put out, Line Tech, who was one of your partners on that, put out, and they did a great job. But talk about Union Station, because this one is very, very unique. And I'm sure, one of those that now that it's done, you're like, oh my gosh, what a rush.
And again, that one had some great partners with Amtrak. Obviously, the contract was through Amtrak. We worked with Getch Partners. The architect did a phenomenal job. They created a video of how everything was going to be done before we even started. So the initial skylight, 1/4-inch wire glass, just completely, everything decaying. If you looked at it, it was all yellowing, had no attractive appeal whatsoever. So Getch Partners spent a number of years working on what they wanted this to look like before it was done. And thank goodness for Burg Construction. They were the general contractor. And what they did, a number of things they did to make our jobs a lot easier after the design was finished, was they built a deck, a floating deck that came off the steel structure. And so when you went into the Great Hall, when this all had started, you looked up, you just saw a wooden deck hanging up about 10 or 15 feet from below the skylight, which is about 115 feet in the air.
Right.
So at no time did they disrupt any travel, any commuters, anything going through there, because both META and Amtrak run through there. So they did that. And then they also helped create a plan for unloading on the street, bringing it up through Buckhoist, crossing through the building, because up at that point, I think it was the 4th through the 6th floors unoccupied.
Right.
So this incredible maze of scaffolding and everything to make everything flat for rolling, framing in the glass out to the site was, just a godsend. The original skylight stayed in place, except for a few places where the attachments for the scaffold had to go, until the steel company came in and went about 5 or 6 feet above the existing steel put in stanchions, and then we attached our skylight to those stanchions. So you have the base skylight, then you have 5 feet above, you have a brand new skylight that has all new, again, Viricon glass, materials all painted by Line Tech, like you said. We finished all of that, had all the glass installed, completely enclosed, and then went back and removed all the wire glass. They cleaned all the original steel framing, painted it, and then we put a new lay light in with a translucent with a PVB inner layer, 9/16 glass. So when you look up at it now, you see the translucent glass, and if you look really close on a beautiful sunny day, you can see some of the shadowing from a little bit of the steel or the frame above. But just, and that's part of the biggest thing is the renovation market. Those are the projects we really, really like, because I think those are going to continue to grow, whatever happens with the economy. There's a number of those projects out there, including one in Michigan, right? Not far from you is the Michigan Central Train Station.
Yeah.
Which we just got that, and we're going to be starting that job probably in May or June.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the renovation market is absolutely ripe for massive growth, and because it has to be. We have these buildings that were built, just even buildings that were built in the 80s are now, in some disrepair. They don't perform energy wise. And so the best thing to do, I mean, the structure, the bones are good, but the glass and the curtain wall or the skylights need replaced. And look at what you just did, Union Station. What a case study there. That you could say, look at what can be done in the toughest of locations. I mean, just dealing with the human factor there is unbelievable.
Right. And downtown Chicago, and it went off with a hitch. It was a great job. So we'd like to see more of those.
And I give you credit. What I liked about what you just went through is how you talked about your collaborators there. That's nice. And I think that's something that you guys are constantly aware of and doing. And you work with so many different players at so many different levels, both from the architects and the GCs and the building owners and so on. That's something that's ingrained in your culture, I believe.
And it is, and that's what gives us the positivity for the future, is because we spend so much time budgeting projects. When I first got here, we were budgeting projects that we're now just seeing come to light now.
7 years later.
And the budgeting doesn't stop. So we don't worry about it too much, because sooner or later, those, the great architects, the big architects that love to work with us, and the general contractors, they call us and say, okay, remember that job we talked about back in 15, 16, 17? It's coming to light. And we're pretty confident that they're going to.
Good. I like it. Well, so talking about the future, how's 2021 looking the rest of the way and going forward? What are you guys feeling?
It's January wasn't a great month. It was down a little bit more than we thought, but February was extremely strong. March is already starting out strong. If we continue to see those new orders pick back up to where they should be, what we expect them to be, it's going to be a pretty solid year. I don't think we're going to break any records this year, but I think we'll follow our plan of what we have slated for this year.
Good. Yeah, you'll hang in there and keep rolling. I'm excited. I'm excited about what you have next. Things like the train station will be another showstopper for our industry, and that's again that's a big thing of what I'm about, is showing off what we all can do, and you guys are definitely doing it right.
And we enjoy it. That's I think one of the best parts about everybody here seems to enjoy what they do. When you hear that someone went on vacation to Omaha and they dragged their kids into a building just so they could see the skylight. That's kind of fun to hear.
That is so glass industry centric, because before you on this podcast, I have Josh Burg from Glass Enterprises in Pennsylvania. And we had talked either on the podcast or off the podcast about how, as glass people, that's what we do with our kids. We show, hey, look at the glass, look for the logo. I did that with my brother, when I first got into business. He's pointing out logos all over the place and reading spacers. I love that you guys do the same thing. That is so unique to our industry.
Yeah, big time. During you and I talked about a little bit, and my daughters are going to college, and
yes,
every college we went to, I had to take a list with me and say, okay, yep, we did the Union, we did this, we did that one. Kind of fun to see. I enjoy it too.
I like it. I like it. That's the way it is. I used to be able when we first moved to Michigan, there was a supermarket right down the street that didn't use our glass, and I told my wife, "You can't shop there. Our glass isn't in that supermarket."
No chance.
I've grown up a little bit since then, but I was pretty territorial back in the old age. I wouldn't shop somewhere where they didn't use our glass. So,
I
but
understand. I agree.
I love it. I love what you have going on there, my friend. You've found a good home and you're doing great with it. And like I said, I've known you for a long time, and I think you're in the perfect spot for your skill set with great people up at Super Sky, and you're doing a super job. Congratulations.
Thanks, Max. We really appreciate it. And, I love talking to you. You're a wealth of information, extremely helpful. And hopefully we can get back together. And unfortunately, BEC didn't happen, but hopefully soon.
Well, hopefully we see it glass build. I know I'd always see it BEC, but hopefully you'll see it glass build in the fall. And for those of you who want to see what Super Sky does, supersky.com is the website. Also follow them on LinkedIn at Super Sky. You can find them always putting up projects at least once a week of the work that they do, so you can get a feel for that. But Brian, thank you so much for taking the time today. And again, yeah, we'll see it. We'll see you in Atlanta. We're going to stay positive that we'll see a glass build in Atlanta.
Good. Look forward to it. Thank you, Max. Take care.
Thank you. Okay, now we will get ready to wrap things up. It's fun stuff time, the way we end every podcast. And I will say there's been a clamoring to have my brother Steve on this podcast. It is coming soon once I can get into his schedule. Busy guy. He will be here, and I want to have him in this segment because he is fun and adventurous, but I actually want to also get his opinion on other things too. So he'll be coming up, but we've got some great guests coming up down the line too. And we'll touch on that in a moment. But the fun stuff, couple recaps first. Last month, we talked music and we talked the greatest deceased member band ever. And some of the feedback I got from all of you was really, really good. People that we missed: Keith Moon, the Van Zants, Jimi Hendrix, Richie Valens, George Michael, David Bowie, and Prince. Man, I can't believe we missed some of those folks. I think I went a little too fast, but thank you to everybody who kind of touched base with me. That was kind of fun. Enjoyed, and props again to my friend Ken Fortunato, who came up with that idea and gave me something to talk about here. Also in the past, I've talked about documentaries and how much I'm a fan of them. And I heard from Heather West, who's one of my all-time favorites. I idolize the greatness of Heather West, the PR superstar from the Midwest. And Heather pointed out some docs for me to catch that I would have never have seen. She pointed me to the Spirit Award nominations for this year, and one of them is called Collective. Incredible, deep, fast, intense documentary on the corruption in Romania in their healthcare system. Definitely check it out. That one is on Amazon Prime and very, very good. Thank you so much to Heather. She gave me a bunch of others, but that was the good one I liked, and definitely something to check out. What to stream now? We'll move into that. And again, thanks to Ben Beeler, the consultant over at AMS and working with the NACC, the great job that he and Jeff Dalaba and the gang are doing over there. He gave me Lupin, which is on Netflix, a French series. It does have the English dubbing and subtitles. Very good. I'm almost done with it. A good one to work out too. Very intense, and I like those intensity ones. And then back is Last Chance U, a basketball edition. I've always liked the Last Chance U's, with the exception of a couple seasons when they were in Kansas with a really odd football coach. But mostly it's always been a very good show. So if you like that formula, that Last Chance U did for football, if you've seen the football one, a basketball one at East LA College is out now, and it's really, really good if you're into that sort of thing. So that's kind of what I'm watching. So when I ask you, what are you watching? What should I be catching? On demand, streaming. What series should I watch? I like things that are fast paced, intense, because I tend to watch when I'm on the elliptical or on the treadmill. So those deep series with a lot of dialogue aren't good for me for that sort of scenario. I like things that are, always moving and having some action in it the most, or catch you on the edge of your seat. My favorite of all time, Breaking Bad, it never failed me. 68 episodes, and I say 67 of the 68 were absolute perfection. The only bad one, and I fight with my good friend Kevin Grammons, the Target Mentality owner and the coach, and actually Kevin helped develop this new logo for Soul Source, so thank you. I joke with him that the only one I didn't like is the Fly episode of Breaking Bad. Some of you like that one. Kevin loves it. I thought it was just the worst episode that they could put out. The other 67, perfection. So let me know if you disagree or agree with me on that one. I'm at max@soulsource.info. That is the easiest address. I've had it up on the screen throughout this podcast if you're watching it on YouTube, but if you're listening, it's max@soulsource.info. All right, so that's wrapping up things for today. Wonderful, wonderful guests. Very, very happy once again to have this going. 3 episodes in the can, many, many more to come, lining up things for months to come. Very excited about next month. We've got an interesting mix of guests. I don't want to jinx it because I haven't recorded anything yet, but I have one person I've chased since I started this podcast. I know it's only 3 episodes in, but it was a person I wanted right away, and I'm getting her next month. If all goes well, I will have this wonderful, wonderful, talented person on the podcast in April, along with a couple others that I'm fans of, and I'm excited to share their stories with the industry at large. So thank you again for watching and listening and supporting. Thank you for reading the From the Fabricator blog. I probably have to get an easier name of the blog since I struggle saying it. Thank you for reading it. Thank you for supporting this and supporting the industry, because that's always my goal at the end of the day. Definitely appreciate it. Have yourself a good rest of March, and we will see you in April. Thanks.
Oh, the music is stopped.